Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Oh, a little glitch at the beginning, but there was a lot of glitches with the Astros in this game, but they escaped one. Welcome to Houston Sports Talk's live World Series postgame show. Robert Land alongside Stephen Kerr. Between the two of us, 60 years combined in sports journalism. If you're new to the party, Steve and I are native Houstonians who've been fans since the 60s and 70s. And Stephen, this one was a lot tougher than it should have been.
Well, it was, Robert, but by golly, you're just glad you get a win, especially after what happened last night. Just good to get a win. I mean, this is the World Series. You know, crazy things are supposed to happen, right? It just, you don't like it if you're an Astros fan and it goes against you. But, oh, thank God those errors and the crazy calls and things like that didn't go against the Astros or hurt them this time.
Yeah, Stephen, I just got to say, it feels like the Astros have to win now 5 games in this series because I felt like game 1. So you want to celebrate it, but at the same time, I'm like, God, how easy could it have been to just be 2-0 right now?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of the sting away from last night's loss, just the way it happened. But, I still think, Robert, if the Astros do end up losing this series, you have to point to game 1 as a big reason why. But at least they did even the series. Now they got to go to Philly for 3 in a row. And gosh, anything can happen there. The Phillies haven't been to a World Series since 2009. So just like Seattle, they're going to be rocking in Philly, getting ready for that one.
All right, Stephen. I got to remind all of our viewers and listeners, if you're out there, we want to hear from you. We want your comments. And we're going to go through some major moments in the game. But just a reminder, if you are not subscribed, you're new to the channel, subscribe to us. We do a ton of shows every week. And right now we're doing Astros post games. We do Texans post games after every single Texans game. We've got a regular fantasy football show every week with our fantasy football expert. We're going to have a regular Rockets show every week. You can see our Rockets show this week with Frank from HTX Chop Shop, who knows the Rockets backwards and forwards and does a fantastic job over there. And let's hit some major moments in this one, Stephen. And let's start off with early momentum because the Astros needed it after yesterday. A double for Altuve, a double for Pena, a double for Yordan. That's how you get it going. And in one inning, you get Altuve and Yordan going. And then the Phillies make an error on Yuli. And that was the hole in the Phillies team that we thought they had, their defense. So that quick, the Astros are up 3-0. Weren't they up 3-0 last night? I think, Stephen.
Yeah, they were up 5-0 last night. But yeah, and Robert, the Astros became the first team in World Series history to start the game with 3 extra base hits in a row. And what was interesting is they came out of the gate swinging on the first pitch. Altuve, he hit the first pitch for a double. And then Pena, first pitch, double. Alvarez, I think it may have been the second pitch. I don't think it was the first pitch for him, but then he doubles, scoring Pena. So the Astros were very aggressive coming out, but they weren't over aggressive. That's the big thing. So that at least gave you a good feeling. You just thought, well, you got to hang on to this lead this time, but at least they got it going in the first inning, and it's their bats certainly looked better. And gosh, it was great to see Altuve get that hit, and 2 more actually.
Yeah. Do you want to go all the way to the 5th inning? Because not a whole lot happened after that for a while.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything, really. I know the Astros, there were a couple times when Wheeler, walked the first batter in a couple innings in a row, but the Astros didn't capitalize on it. So yeah, let's move along to the middle of the game.
All right, let's hear from you guys. I know you're out there. We had 1,100 people who watched yesterday's post-game show, so definitely want to hear from you guys. I don't want to hear from Philly lurkers because I know they like to get in because they got nothing better to do, Stephen, than bug Astros. They can't celebrate themselves. They've got to be busy bugging Astros.
Yeah, go on the Philly talk shows and podcasts, Philly fans. You're good at booing. Go boo on your own podcast. Go ahead.
Yeah, go be annoying somewhere else. We'll see what happens the rest of the World Series. If you want to talk afterwards, we could talk. But this is not over by any means because you guys got one game. Let's go to the fifth inning. 2-run homer for Bregman. He hit what looked like a slider that didn't slide much. And what can you say? Alex Bregman just, he's been the most maybe consistent guy in the whole postseason for the Astros, Stephen, outside of Jeremy Pena, who's, still been putting together one good game after another. But Bregman's been the guy, I think, at number 2 for us.
Well, certainly this postseason. And as we've talked about before, it sure is nice to see, especially with the Alex Bregman we saw last postseason. I don't think, did he show up, Robert? I don't know. But the Alex Bregman, he did show up this year, this postseason. And I'd say he is certainly, if not the most consistent, one of the most consistent hitters of this Astros offense. It really needs it.
Yeah, I mean, he was hurt last year. I mean, he was
interviewed during the game. He
was interviewed during the game, and he didn't even mention it. And that's just Alex Bregman, like not making excuses. But
it was a hand injury.
It was, he had leg injury. He had a leg injury. Remember the whole season? He was out most of the season. I don't think he was ever right when he came back. And it was hand, but I don't know if he was back from his leg either, because he just didn't look good at third base, period. Like moving around out there, it just wasn't the same guy. And I think the leg was affecting, him at the plate and it was, of course it was, we know it was. Yeah. And it took him, a few months into this year before he got himself right. So let's go to the fifth inning after the Astros score 5, because I knew the 6th was going to be critical. And they went up 5-0 in the first game. Verlander immediately gave back some of the runs. So it's like right now, you got to put the chokehold on the Phillies right here. It was also the inning that would cleanly get Framber to the bullpen, or at least I thought it would cleanly get Framber to the bullpen. And we're going to get to that in a second. I was panicking after the first 2 guys got on with Real Muto and Harper coming up, but Framber weasels out of it like he normally does with a strikeout and a double play. And Stephen, I'm kind of wondering at that point, did you think Dusty should have taken him out after getting out of the jam? And, he's about at the 100 pitch mark at that point.
Yeah, he was close. I think he was at 94 when he started that inning, Robert. Yeah, I had to wonder, because this was about the time that Framber starts to show that he's tired. And after last night, I think we're all a little bit hypersensitive about leaving our starting pitchers in too long. And he got Schwarber on a full count and drew a walk. And I thought, get somebody up now. And then, of course, the single to Hoskins. Then you really had to start worrying. But, man, those two, the strikeout of Real Muto was critical. And then Harper setting up that double play, that really got him out of it. But, yeah, I was a little on shaky ground there when he started the 6th, and I realized that Framber was going to stay in the game, because that's about when he starts giving out.
The 6th or the 7th, you mean?
Well, the 6th is, the 6th is when he had the 2 runners on.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with him coming in the 6th. He was about at 85, 86 pitchers. Dusty's been giving him a long leash all season. He was used to throwing at least 100 pitches pretty much every game this year. I mean, a lot of his starts this year, I should say. And, the 6th inning, I had no issue with. And if he gets in trouble, you get up a reliever and you get him out of it. Luckily, he gets the double play and you don't need to get the reliever up. And at that point, I thought, super stressful inning. He's at the 100 pitch mark. Get him out. That's it. Clean slate for the 7th inning for the reliever. For some reason, again, Dusty not realizing he's got this incredible bullpen that's well rested. Even after yesterday's game, he had guys that just went an inning, and they've only pitched 1 inning in the last 6 days, with, the schedule being what it was. So finally, he brings in a little help when Framber gets in trouble, gives up the double. They give up a run, but it was, a sac fly, and that was it. But man, Stephen, and the nothing is easy category. Let's go to the 8th inning, because this was nuts.
Oh man, we could write a book on that 8th inning, don't you think? It's crazy stuff going on.
I mean, Schwarber misses that 2-run homer by not very much. It felt like it took an eternity for this crew to figure it out. Then he barely misses a home run to right. Now, as it turns out, that wouldn't have been out of any other ballpark except one in the major leagues. Stephen, you want to take a guess which ballpark that would have been a home run in?
Was to right field, right? So probably, I mean, Yankee Stadium, maybe that short porch.
Oh, Aaron Boone said it was lucky that the Astros were instead of playing the World Series at Yankee Stadium, how lucky were the Astros? And so
for sure. And I think Tucker was even signaling it was a foul ball on that other one, and before they reviewed it.
Oh yeah. And it was, you could tell in the first replay, it was clear that the ball was in front of the foul pole, which meant it was a foul ball. So here's a play, though, that comes up next that I have never seen in watching baseball. And I've watched a lot of baseball. I just don't recall this happening. Pena goes to his left for a grounder. Altuve, with the runner on first base, gets down instead of covering second. And I don't know how typical that would be, but Pena tosses it to where he thinks Altuve is at second to get the short force. But like I said, Altuve's not there. And have you seen that, Stephen?
No. I don't know I'm not sure if Altuve was trying to, clear a path for Pena to field. I mean, I guess that's what he was doing, but and Pena obviously didn't see that he wasn't covering second base, but man, that could have been a disaster. It's like every postseason, Robert, we think we've seen it all and we see something crazy. And yeah, that was definitely crazy. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before.
I thought Pena would recognize that Altuve had ducked down because he was close enough to where you would think you would have seen him in his peripheral vision. But
well, that's what I thought too.
His focus must have been just so on that ball. And that's how you don't make errors in the postseason. And Pena's been really solid. I guess that was an error that did they give that to Pena, I assume?
Yeah, that's what I would assume, is that because of the throw. But, it's as much on Altuve as it is on Pena.
Yeah, whoever they gave it on, it kind of went to both of them. And it was
an E6. I believe I see. Yeah, it was an E6.
I wonder if Altuve thought he wasn't going to get to second in time, because that's the easy play right there for the short throw is this the quick toss right there.
Right. Yep. That must have been what happened. But man, and then you had runners at the corners at that point.
Yeah, somehow you're not out of it yet. So the Astros, they'll get the final out. And of course, it gets harder after that, because there's this high pop up. You would think a high pop up at Minute Maid with the Astros' speedy defense between short, second, and right field, somebody would be there easily. But it was it was like this Bermuda Triangle in shallow right, and Pena was the last guy I figured who would have to catch it in shallow right field. But he was the one that got it. And I don't know if Tucker would have been able to get it. He might have, but he sort of begged off at the last moment. So he knew Pena must have had a better angle on it, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it appeared to be. But, even that, you were holding your breath. That whole half inning, it's like you were really having to take some deep breaths on that, because some of the crazy plays that were happening. And yeah, even ending the inning, you weren't sure you were out of the woods. And of course, it was off of Harper. So, he's got the hottest hand in the postseason right now. So you definitely breathed a sigh of relief when he got the out.
The Astros were supposed to have the big advantage on defense, but there's been a couple of shaky things. We saw what happened with Pena and Altuve. And then in the ninth inning, Presley gives up a double, and the final out, of course it's going to be difficult. Yuli making an uncharacteristic Bill Buckner. Yes, I said Bill Buckner looking error in the ninth inning.
Well, of course, it went off his glove instead of between his legs, but either way, it ended up being a 2-base error. So that was big, or it could have been big. It did score 1 run, but uncharacteristic of Gurriel, who, it's interesting. The Astros have been prided for their defense. The Phillies, not so much a great defensive team, and they did make some mistakes tonight, but man, it seemed like in the later innings, it was the Astros you were starting to get worried about defensively.
So Presley gets the final out. Thank goodness. So the Astros tie the series at 1. And Stephen, my only thought is it's now 2 games. And I wish once again that Dusty wasn't being so precious about this bullpen. It's strange to say, because we've been through all of these Astros postseasons recently where you're scared to death of the bullpen. And I'm like, let's just get to the bullpen in this postseason. I'm like, let's get to the good guys already.
Yeah, this isn't last year, or the year before, when everybody had so many questions about the Astros bullpen. I mean, it's as solid a bullpen as I have ever seen, Robert. Really, on any rotation. And, they've only given up 4 runs this entire postseason, and every one of them is on a solo home run until tonight, of course, when they gave up that run in the 9th. But, that was just it wasn't so much on the pitcher necessarily. So you can't say enough about this bullpen. So the fact that you should have more confidence in it, I don't know if Dusty's just worried about wearing him out. You are going to have an off day tomorrow, so that's going to help. But, this is just what Dusty does, and I think we're just going to have to grit our teeth and pray to God it doesn't come back to bite us and then we don't win the World Series.
I posted a comment earlier from David Hendricks. He says it's a best-of-5 series now. No time to dwell on Game 1. I had to dwell on it a little bit at the beginning because I was dwelling on it the whole game, Stephen, because it was, it's hanging over them. Let's get another win and maybe I can start to put it behind us. I need a win in Game 3. So at least I know we're coming back to Minute Maid. That would be nice.
Well, David, you're right. I mean, you certainly don't want the Astros harping on that game. And you had to wonder, what was their mentality going into Game 2? I mean, in that first inning, when they came out swinging, it made me feel a lot better. I thought, okay, they are focused. They are going to go out tonight and take care of business. And that's exactly what they did. So, as long as the Astros aren't focusing on it and focusing in a positive way, that's what we should do too. But, oh, it still stings though. I can't tell you. It's this morning I woke up and I think I was just as pissed off as I was last night. So this makes it feel a bit better, but we do have to go to Philly and it's not going to be easy there.
All right, let's get to something that's, bothered me, and you and I have talked about it on the postgame show. Somebody else pointing it out. He says, this is Brian Miranda, says, why does Minute Maid Park sound like a funeral? Let's hope we can win at least 2 in Philly and bring this back home. But, I mean, I saw a Philadelphia media person, and I reposted it or retweeted it on social media that was saying the same thing that we were saying.
Well, we've been saying it a lot this postseason. I mean, I think Game 1, was pretty loud until, of course, the Phillies mounted that comeback, and then you could hear a pin drop the rest of the game. I don't know what to say, Robert. I mean, I don't know if the fans are just spoiled now because we're just so used to making the World Series, or we're just not as vocal. I mean, I don't have any explanation for it. I guess you have to ask the fans that aren't cheering loudly. It's like, I think you've pointed this out before. It's like they wait for something to happen. Then the place starts rocking. But if you want to get in the other team's head, and I've made this comment before, now that the pitchers have this PitchCom technology, they need to be able to hear it. So why not start drowning it out a little bit? Make these pitchers have to really listen for it and concentrate and just throw them off their game. Any little advantage you can have, you need a home field advantage in baseball, and it's very difficult to get anyway. So why not make it count with things like that?
That's what they do in the NFL, right?
Exactly. You yell so loud that the offense can't hear the quarterback.
All right, another question for you, Stephen. Do you think Javier or McCullers pitches Game 3? And I can't remember. Has Dusty announced this already?
Yeah, I was going to say we don't have to wonder because I just saw a tweet that McCullers is going to start Game 3. So that takes care of that. He will start Game 3 in Philly from what Brian T. Smith just tweeted that out.
What do you think of that?
Honestly, I mean, I think it worked so well, the fact that they started Javier in Game 3. I really was hoping I would see that again. So, yeah, I'm a little disappointed. I would like to see Javier start Game 3 in Philly and then go with McCullers in Game 4. Then it starts getting shaky because then you have Game 5 and Game 6. Hopefully, if it gets to that, then you got to start wondering, we're going to see Justin Verlander again. But, yeah, I would have liked to see Javier in Game 3.
Yeah, let's get one before we get to Verlander in 5. And
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying it, but yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah, I know.
Brandy says she wants to see McCullers pitch Game 3. So,
Well,
some
you
fans
got your
are,
wish, and it's on Halloween, so you got your wish in Game 3. He will start.
Lance is somebody that has pitched well on some big occasions for the Astros. So and we're coming up on a pretty big occasion that Lance pitched well. If you remember, it's not going to be Halloween, but it was the next day, 5 years earlier, Stephen, that what happened in
Yeah.
Astros history.
Astros history, winning that World Series. Yeah, it's so weird that the season is going to end, through the first few days of November. They just keep pushing it back and pushing it back. So, yeah, going to be kind of odd. And I don't even know. I haven't even looked to see what the weather's going to be like in Philly, but you start to getting in late October, early November, it's probably going to be a bit on the chilly side.
Yeah, I haven't checked, but I don't see anything forecast as far as rain goes. So I think that's a good thing with the Phillies not having the longest starting staff and the Astros, being so deep in the starting staff. That's an advantage for the Astros for sure.
Yeah, it is. And, the good thing is if McCullers can only go, say, 4 or 5 innings, you're going to have a day off with the bullpen, can be rested. So, you can put some of those guys in early if you have to. But, boy, 5, even 6 good quality innings from McCullers sure would be nice.
If you're wondering about the Philadelphia 5-day forecast, I do see some rain on Monday. So maybe that I had gotten the wrong information, but the highs are at least very tolerable for Astros players because it's going to be in the mid 60s, both Monday and Tuesday. And then it should be a beautiful 70 degrees on Wednesday and sunny, but Monday and Tuesday, there is a little bit of chance of rain. So who knows? And I mean, like I said, I think if that happens, if there's delays or, a flat out rain delay, that's a big advantage for them.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I just, we want no rain delays, please. Let's just get this thing going and get it over with.
Yeah, that precipitation, it says 20% during Monday during the day and 50% at night. So I don't like that percentage. Tuesday,
not at all.
It's 30% during the day is 0. So this is something that's supposed to run through, but you don't want that Monday game delayed till Tuesday because then they can get back to, Wheeler and Nola earlier. Although, the Astros did a pretty good job against both starters. So I don't know.
Well, that's true. They did. And they certainly, Wheeler is, I guess technically is really their ace. He was 12-7 and I thought he was going to pitch game 1, quite honestly, but they went with Nola. And at first it looked like that was going to be a bad decision, that the Phillies bats bailed them out. But yeah, the way they got to Wheeler kind of makes you think. And, they used Ranger Suarez in the first game. So he was, I think, projected to be the game 3 starter, but that's obviously not going to happen. He's probably going to be pushed to game 4. So yeah, a lot of questions still remain. And if you have a rain delay, it throws everything in a shuffle.
Anything else that you're thinking about as we head over to Philadelphia and go to game 3 and 4? Any concerns moving forward? I mean, I feel like this is color by numbers, and that's all Dusty's got to do. The one thing that I will say, and you and I talked about this after the post game yesterday, we forgot to talk about it during the post game, but both you and I believe David Hensley needs a shot at DH because this has been a catastrophe.
Well, it really has. I mean, even Aledmus Diaz, who, typically is one of the better pinch hitters, but even when, you spell him as a spot start, just hasn't come through. I mean, you've gotten just nothing out of that spot. So, I know a lot of fans are calling for David Hensley. I've even said it. And I know he has a small sample size in the regular season, but he's proven that he can hit and make some contact. And, I mean, at least give him a shot at some point. I think you almost have to because you're getting 0. I mean, 0 at the DH spot. And that's where you want some of your at least most consistent hitters in that spot.
Dusty said he liked David Hensley, and he's the reason why Hensley was on the roster. Well, then if you like him, show it to us. Let's see it. I'm scared he's going to all of a sudden throw in Mauricio Dubon or something like that. But, I mean, he likes Dubon late in games to sub Chaz if they need some defense, and that happened again in this game. But you got to give Hensley a why not? What do you get to lose? What's the worst that could happen? He's 0 for 3.
He strikes out 4 times, like some of these other guys have done. Yeah, exactly. And, at this point, McCormick's bat is too good. And you've noticed I don't think he's taken him out in any of these games. You got to leave McCormick in there because his bat is so good.
Yeah, I can't say enough about what McCormick has done when it seems like Dusty just doesn't believe in the guy a whole lot or hasn't believed in him all year. I mean, he could say, I believe in him in the postseason, but I kind of wonder if he's gotten a lot of pressure from higher up, because if he liked him so much in the postseason, why wasn't he starting on a regular basis? Why was it so hard to just leave him in there for most of the games during the regular season? I just never got that. And I think Chaz just disrespected, and he's been solid on defense. I mean, he hasn't been spectacular, but he hasn't had to be spectacular, I don't think.
Well, I still think that as this series goes on, you've got to. I'm almost convinced that David is going to get a shot, just because you literally gotten nothing out of there. So you might as well try something different. I mean, that really is my biggest concern, I think, coming into the game, is just solidifying the DH spot. But I felt so much better with the way the offense looked tonight, especially with Altuve getting out of that funk. Yordan looking a bit better at the plate. We just need to keep clicking on all cylinders and not have any cave-ins. And then, we can take, maybe 2 of these next 3 games if possible.
Yordan's double was very much a Minute Maid Park double, though. That was not.
Yeah, it was. It certainly was.
That was not anything extraordinary. And I want to see the Yordan power a little bit. You don't have to, hit 3 home runs in a game, but just, give me hey, how about a home run in game 3? That would be nice.
Well, I think part of the problem, Robert, he's been kind of trying to swing for the fences a little too much. And maybe that's been contributing to some of his struggles. So, maybe if he just goes back to playing the way he had before, the home runs will come. I mean, he's going to hit them. You've got to get the right pitch to hit, get a good beat on the ball. I mean, his home runs are going to come, but if you try too hard, that's when you start getting out of your game, swinging at pitches out of the zone, which, he's done some of that, not doing well with the elevated fastball. So it was good to see him at least do a little bit better tonight. And Altuve is back, baby. That is really the big story on offense.
And you got to throw in the fact, Stephen, I think it's a little under the radar. Maldi's not exactly an automatic out in the postseason.
No, he really isn't. He did some things in game 1, and he's certainly not been a liability as much in this postseason, as he is in the regular season. And he is capable of getting hot at just the right time, or at least getting a big hit at just the right time. I think I was listening to somebody on Sports Talk 790. They were saying that, or they were calling that he was going to hit a home run tonight. Well, it didn't happen, but he has the potential to do that, to be a game changer. And who knows, maybe in Philly, that's exactly what he'll do.
Yeah, if he connects, he's big, and we've seen him do it before. It's not as though we're expecting anything like that, but he had that line drive at third base, and if their third baseman wasn't 6'5" and they had Alex Bregman over there instead, that was a double.
Yeah, that'd have been a hit, easy.
And I'm trying to remember when there was a runner on. Wasn't Chaz on first base at that point?
I think so. Well, yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, I want to say he was on base, so that could have scored a run potentially, because Chaz can move, and if that gets into that corner, I mean, you never know right there. So, I mean, he's been Maldi. He's been rock solid. He had that one pass ball in the Yankee series that was a little bit frustrating, but it's, I mean, considering this whole postseason, he's been great.
Yeah, he really has been, and just the whole offense, as I said, has been so up and down, but it's nice to see some of these guys get going. And then if you can have a bat like Maldonado come through, every now and then, you're not going to expect him to all the time, but every now and then in a big situation, and then you get Hensley or somebody to shore up the DH spot, then I feel a lot better about this offense and the Astros' chances to win the World Series moving forward.
As David says, in the chat, he says Rangers Suarez and Bailey Falter, you got to take advantage of those guys pitching the next 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I would be shocked if they brought back Nola on 3 days rest, Stephen. I mean, even though he got roughed around, he didn't come out of that game early. He did throw some pitches in that game.
He did. And, it's interesting. I thought it was interesting that he started game 1. He was 11-13 on the season and not exactly their best pitcher. I think he pitched a little better in the second half of the season, but, he also lost game 2 of the NLCS. So, yeah, bringing him back on 3 days rest, I would be scratching my head with curiosity if they did that.
They got a little overconfident because he was Nola against the Astros late in the year, and they thought that was the real Astros that he was. I think the Astros were kind of taking it easy at that point.
Probably. I think he retired like 20 batters in a row before they finally got. Well, he was pitching. Yeah, he's pitching a no-hitter, perfect game, and until they finally broke it up. So, yeah, it clearly wasn't quite the case in Game 1.
All right, Stephen. Final thoughts going into Game 3 and 4. Do you have any lucky rabbit's foot out at this point after this game? Was there anything that you changed in your whole preparation for the game? Like, what's going on?
Well, I didn't have coffee tonight, so maybe I just won't have any of the rest of the World Series. I had some in Game 1, and I mean, they were already starting to come back, but it obviously didn't help. So I passed on it tonight. So we'll see if that helps on Monday.
All right. Sounds good. And if anybody is new to the show, like I said, we're doing this every single Astros post game will be, every single World Series game, we will do a post game. We do Texans live post games this year as well with me and Sports Radio 610's Sean Bajani. Tomorrow afternoon, the Texans play at 3:00. So at 6:00 or thereabouts, me and Sean Bajani will be ready as soon as it's over with to talk Texans and Titans. And hopefully, Stephen, how about a win this week, maybe?
How about a win, Texans? Come on. I mean, Davis Mills looked pretty good in the Raiders game, but definitely some faltering in that fourth quarter. But at least you won't have to do double duty on Sunday, Robert. You'll just have the Texans, and that's it.
That's it. Thank goodness. And then we'll be back here again on Monday. Don't forget to subscribe either on YouTube. Actually, subscribe both on YouTube and your favorite audio podcast app because we're on Spotify.
I do both.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're on the road, if you're at the gym, if you're in the car going shopping, you can listen to our shows. Go back into the library. We got some really good interviews. If you look back, especially on YouTube, it's real organized. So you can just go to an Astros history playlist, and we've got interviews with so many former Astros, some even current Astros as well. So you'll want to check that out. I feel like there's something missing, Stephen. And here's what I think it is.
Here come the Astros, burning with desire. Here come the Astros, breathing orange fire.
There you go.
Yeah. Bring some more of that.
Yeah. All right, Astros. Let's do this. We got to get 3 more. 3 more to win the World Series. You got to get 3 more. Let's do it. Until next post game tomorrow for me, Monday for Steven. We'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, you can support the show by subscribing on YouTube and commenting on the videos. Listen to Houston Sports Talk on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and Google. Don't forget to tell a friend and share our show on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.